This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
I'd like to call the May 19th Board of Finance to order. Before we begin our first item, Mr. Frida, you had something to say?
Yes, I just want to make an announcement tonight and acknowledge a very special person who's been part of this group for many, many years. And you may not realize, but the end of June, June 30th, Ellen Dufour will be retiring. So on behalf of Ed and I, we wanted to let the Board of Finance know that we think so highly of this young lady here. We will miss her in full-time employment. Hopefully she'll be with us in some sort of other capacity, but that's yet to be determined. And after all the years, I think it's been, Ellen, 25 years you've been here? 25 years. She came to the town of North Haven from the Regional Water Authority. She had a really good background there. She's worked with several administrations. She's worked with a couple of finance directors, at least 3 first selectmen, and as each of you know, she's done an outstanding job. Now, we're going to probably plan as something for Ellen in this room, maybe, one day during lunch. We're looking at that, and we'll certainly let the Board of Finance know. But on behalf of Ed and I'd like to ask you for a round of applause for this wonderful young lady. Thank you.
Congratulations.
And yeah, Ellen, if I may add, I don't know what I would do without you because you pick up the ball, everything I hand off to you take care of. It just goes effortlessly, and I'm going to kick myself tomorrow for what I'm saying right now, but you really do a great job down there. I got to admit, you do. You take it and you run with it, so.
You know runs finance. First item, minutes from our regular meeting, April 21st. Everyone's had a chance to look at it. Questions or comments? Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Can I have a second?
I'll make a motion.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? New business. Expenditures? Questions or comments?
I just had a quick question,
Sure.
again, on the town clerk, the overtime line. Again, it's not an enormous dollar amount, Ed, but I'm assuming that the people that were temporarily, furloughed are now back. And so are they back in full capacity? In which case, then I'm just trying to understand this overtime line.
Said this ties into the fact we can't get the part-timers. We've got 2 vacancies on part-time. We have not been able to hire people back. We have posted the positions. We're trying to help Stacy with this, and I think that's probably a contributing factor. So she's down 2 people right now, Stacy.
Because the personnel part-time was budgeted at 15, and that's why it's roughly half of that? Is that?
Yeah. So we have no part-timers on staff right now.
There's no part-timers?
Right. She's, Stacy's down 2 part-timers.
Anything else?
Go ahead.
Yeah, on the first page too, we're encumbering for ballot and voting machine supplies. What's that about?
It's whatever they need to buy to run the election.
Well,
So-
election year. So
Right. So I got to have whatever they're ordering, I've got
So
to
they're
provide
ordering
for.
it for, well, that we just, they're ordering it for the fall now.
It could be that we just haven't gotten the bill yet to clear it.
Okay. All right. Can I ask also about the lion on page 4? We're encumbering more, so, like, do you know if the fee went up or?
What are you
The
talking about?
line,
Public libraries.
public libraries, the lion line.
It may not have necessarily gone up, but if they ordered something extra throughout the year, they could buy it through Lion, so she charges it there because they probably pay Lion. There's probably a flat fee for Lion, but if they buy books or something to them because they think they're cheaper, it might just have gotten charged there. It might have been all on one bill.
Okay, all right. I'll let someone else go.
Ed, I got one question for you on page 15. Senior Center.
Yeah.
Hold on a sec. Building and supplies equipment, we budgeted 65. We're 4 times that now. Can you help us out there and explain what's going on?
This is the senior center, Jim, is that the?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, building supplies and
Yeah,
equipment.
there was a furnace or something over there that was needed, or air conditioner. But, air conditioning, that's what,
Air conditioner?
yeah. It had to be, it's probably over 20 years old.
Okay, thank you.
And, Tim, you had
I
something?
had one question. I noticed you have an encumbrance of 32,000, the contingent fund, that's on page 5. What was that item for, you know?
Ed, is that the truck on Public Works?
Yeah.
So that's something.
Well, actually, it's not a truck, it's a repair to a truck that was that expensive. And since it's over 20,000, the only place I was told by a town attorney was I could charge it to was a contingency.
So the repair was 32,000?
Correct. It's a
What?
big truck. Yes.
Wow, what kind of truck was that?
Yeah, I don't know, that's a
Okay.
Mike Material question.
Okay.
Yeah, I spent that much on truck repairs, on a single truck,
So
especially getting those big diesels.
because it's over 20,000 unbudgeted, we have to put it here? It's the first time I hear that.
Yeah, we questioned it. We did.
Yeah.
We questioned that because I was surprised with that too.
Right.
But we talked to Jeff and he felt that was the way to go. I thought we could do it at a town meeting with over 20,000.
Yeah, in August,
transfer,
right, yeah.
But Jeff was pretty clear
Okay.
on it. so-
But he needs it now. The
Right.
problem, the truck would be
Right.
down, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Again, this is, we had talked about asking the same question over and over again, but on page 7, under central facilities, is there any way that we could get some sort of an itemized breakdown of the supplies, which again is at 454% of the original budget? And I know clearly there was a certain period in which we were paying for deep cleaning supplies
Yeah.
and things like that.
You
but-
want the year-to-date?
Well, I mean, we budgeted 20 and we're already
Yeah,
at 90.
no
so,
problem.
Yeah, that would be fabulous. And then, and that same central facilities, the maintenance and repair rental properties where you have an encumbrance for $10,000.
Oh, yeah, we've done a roof and windows on these properties, because then guy next door's roof was leaking, so we had to fix that one.
Yeah, I seem to recall that we heard that in the previous month, and that's why it was a month to date.
Oh, I'm not saying that was the encumbrance, I'll find out what that is.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, because we did hear
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
that one.
so.
But that was just one of the items.
Right.
I'm sure there are
Yeah.
several, but it's always worth asking. And then, just on page 9, again, this is just out of curiosity, when I see canine food and maintenance, how many dogs do they actually have in the police department now?
2.
Is it 2? Okay,
2.
right. I'm hoping that they're okay, because I'm seeing that there was a big expenditure in the month, so I'm hoping that's.
Where are you looking?
Sorry,
Page
canine
9.
food and maintenance, under months expended, there's like a $2,600 bill, so I'm hoping that there wasn't a big that bill. Everybody's doing okay.
Okay.
Let's see,
They're income producing though.
again, on page 10 in the fire department, the building maintenance and repair, I know that the gym has raised this issue about repair of some of these newer buildings, or recently renovated buildings, and it looks like there's an encumbrance for $31,000. I'm assuming that the new generator is all put in and that was all taken care of?
I'm sorry, Nance, what line?
Sorry, on page 10, under
Yeah.
fire, building maintenance and repair, there's an encumbrance for $31,000.
It's a negative 31 actually, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was cleared away.
Oh, sorry, I have my writing is over it, so I didn't see the little dash. So is it negative, or what do you know?
Is that?
I don't know off the top of my head on that one.
Okay.
Because I don't see that very often,
Yeah.
unless that's just a mark on the
Particularly
page.
not from the fire
No,
department,
no. Yeah, never. But I'll find out those 3
Okay.
things for you guys.
All right, that would be great. Transportation and hauling, on page 12, it looks like we're still doing quite a bit of hauling, and month to date was another 14,000. Is this just people dropping off things at the recycling center, or, because it seems like we're way over what we had originally planned for, 90,000.
then we have spring,
Yeah.
Bulk pickup.
Bulk pickup,
Right.
we just have bulk pickup.
yeah.
So bulk pickup would be under transfer station and recycling, or would it be under sanitation?
I would assume both,
Yeah.
right? I'm not sure of that, but
I don't know, I guess that's why I'm asking.
But in addition to that, we're also doing a lot of tree work. With trees in the 10-foot right-of-way, we've taken a lot of trees down, and then we could cut it down, and then we have to get rid of the wood, so that's probably part of that too.
Okay.
In the terms of hauling it, having a hauler come in and take it.
I think there was one other thing you asked about the senior center. Oh, one last thing was, on page 16 with the recreation center. Recreation center maintenance, we have an encumbrance of $37,000.
Yes, they needed the major repair over there for major work on various things on the air conditioning system.
Wow, AC system of almost $40,000, okay.
Oh, I'm not saying it's just one thing.
That's just one thing, I see, okay, because then they have
The boiler over there,
all the.
boiler.
And
Yeah,
boiler.
those are the two big issues, the boiler and the air system there.
Seems like they're all going at the same time.
Yes,
Everybody
exactly.
needs air
There are some
conditioning, boiler,
HVAC people
yeah.
that are making a killing here in
Yeah.
town.
Well, this is
Okay.
the season to repair.
No, I'm just saying they all seem to be
Spring
having,
comes,
yeah, but they all seem to
I know,
be
'cause
happening
the first
at
time
the
you're
same
turning them on, and all of a sudden you realize it's not working.
Right,
Exactly.
that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying, and they're all probably close in age, and they're all failing at the same time.
Right.
Anything else on expenditures?
Yeah, just, the streets and roads deficit that now totals of $386,000, that's going to be reimbursed to the town through some of the funds that we're receiving?
Through the federal
Do
fund?
the FEMA money?
Well, I thought that FEMA money could go and be used for some distinct purposes that, such as the trees, that, the tree line.
The
It's in
FEMA
here.
money may be able to
Yeah, so
apply for
we'll
it.
have, there's three forms of reimbursement, okay? One is an internal mechanism with streets and roads with the municipal grants and aid, that money, the
Yeah.
$1,860,000. The second is the COVID reimbursement, which already about $294,000 is in there, and then there may be another smaller amount coming in as a result of that. And then there'll be sometime in the next fiscal year, a reimbursement for Storm Isaias back in August. So, I'm not sure about the 300,000 you're talking
Right.
about, whether they fall in which category,
Yeah,
but.
now, when all three of those items come in, are they going to be listed as income, or are they going to be accounted for
They-
separately?
they
Yes.
Yeah,
clear-
so-
They clear through the general fund.
So, yes, that's exactly right. So when you see in the revenue, a number, let's say it's 294,000 with no line item designation,
Yeah.
that is a reimbursement that appears as revenue.
Okay. All right, my other question may have been answered in a previous meeting. Sorry if I nodded off. The bond line is $1 million to the negative. Is that, did we calculate that correctly? Or what happened, or we just wanted to pay more than was scheduled?
No, the bond and interest are off close to the same amount. It's gonna end up going a little over due to the refunding at the end of the year. But in the long run, the other one offsets it if you look below the interest line.
Both of them.
Okay. I'm so sorry if this has been covered at a previous meeting, but thank you.
twice, actually.
Anything else on expenditures? Revenue?
Go ahead. No, sorry.
How about if I give you an overview on something?
I'm here all night,
Okay,
so
this
it's
may
okay.
answer some questions in your
Sure.
mind.
That'd be
So-
great.
Don't
so
nod off.
if you look on the revenue side, the tax revenue, there's a drag right now. And if you compare it with the last 4 years, let's say we're at 97% this year through April versus roughly 99 in the previous fiscal year. And if you go back 2 other fiscal years, you'll see that in the oldest fiscal year, we're probably at 100.5 or 7. So there is a lag and a drag, we call it, and we think it's as a result of the payments not coming in the second half. So what Stacy's done, and she's done a really great job at this, she sent out about 279 letters about taxes overdue. And that, some of a small amount has already come in that's not reflective in these numbers. So I think that we'll see in the end of June, we're going to close that gap, okay? That's what our intention is, try to close that gap. Now, you're going to see a number there that is probably more or higher than where we are right now. As of, I would say, today, we're at $1,583,000 in remaining tax revenue to come in. So you might see $1,007,000 or $1,008,000 on your report. So that's I think the biggest thing we're looking at right now. But I'll tell you, Stacy's right on top of it. That's the big issue as I see it right now.
Thank you. Anything else on revenue?
Yeah, so I just wanted to comment on that same thing. So it looks like we're gonna try to make up 1.4 million in the remainder of May and.
Yes, that's the goal, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
It's not a bad thing if we don't collect everything. It's actually, in a coal sense, pretty good because we get 18% interest. But we'd rather have the cash.
I'll go on the record as saying I disagree.
We'd
I
rather have the
completely
cash.
disagree with that, because I certainly think that during a pandemic, it's not a good time to be, taking advantage of people that, really can't pay their bills.
Keep in mind, that's not our, that's not a state.
No, I
It's the state law.
But I think the cash is very important. We gotta close that gap, and I
Certainly.
think all of us agree.
Absolutely. And then moving down from taxes down to the State of Connecticut Board of Ed, it looks like we got a little bit more money through the ECS grant than we were expecting, which is always good news. So we're at 104.7%, so an extra $180,000. That's always good news. One question that I had for you, Ed, was in the next category down, the State of Connecticut Town, the last category, miscellaneous. Am I crazy, or was that at 250 from the CARES Act? And now
No, this came in earlier in the year from submissions we did with FEMA earlier on.
Oh, okay, so this is separate
Yeah.
from the CARES Act?
Yeah, it's different.
Okay, because it says actual year-to-date revenue, and I thought
Yeah,
that.
but this had probably come in November, December, or much earlier.
So the CARES Act came in December, and you're saying this
Or
FEMA money?
whenever.
Right, but wouldn't that all be added together for year-to-date?
That is year to date right there.
So didn't we get 250 for CARES Act, and how much for FEMA? You're saying a total of 291, so we should,
There were two checks, as I recall. I'm
Yeah.
just not sure exactly how much each one was.
right, but both should be added together for a year-to-date, which is what that category is.
Well, that would be it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's year to date, yeah, whatever the two checks were, that's it right there. That's all that's come in.
Oh, okay, so then the difference
Nothing else has come in that
is
I,
what we got from FEMA, which is not a ton. Because it seemed like it was 250 for CARES Act.
and then 40 or whatever it was,
Okay.
46.
That's my question, all right. And then, on the second page, interest short-term investments, we're
Not a
only
good
at,
year.
about 11% on that, and that's just because that's where the stock market is right now in terms of,
Well, the rates are
the rates are.
very, very low, and
Less
we've
than
also
1%.
deferred collecting taxes from people for 3 months, twice, that's 6 months a year, so that's where the.
So our cash flow
Yeah, it's
is
just not
affecting our
there.
short-term investments,
Right.
got it, okay. And then last is, under town revenue departments, I just had a question about what is paramedic services that is distinct from what's in the special fund under paramedic billing as a source of revenue?
That's it, that is the revenue, you'll see that should match that special fund.
So it's the same number?
Yeah, it's the same, should be the same number, 36. Year to date.
Okay. Year-to-date is 36, and year-to-date here for paramedic, yeah, okay,
Okay.
got it, so that all matches. Okay, those are the questions that I had. If anyone else has any.
Anyone else have anything on revenue?
Just in general, by the way, has any other federal checks come in since this was printed? Nothing yet?
No.
Okay, I know, I would expect something by June the 11th. Aside from any federal money from, rescue or CARES or anything of that sort, since this is our last meeting of the fiscal year, how do you see the town in balance at the end of this fiscal year? The current budget Would you predict a surplus of 600,000, 800,000? Would you know?
I don't know if I can predict all that. I'd be buying more Powerball tickets.
Mike, Ed and I are monitoring this every day. It's a great question, because we are going through this every single day.
The question is, what's our status?
Right. So our goal is to balance the budget, but we can't sit here tonight and even come up with a number at this point. Because we're expecting some reimbursements from some, like COVID as an example. There might be another check coming in. We've got a situation where I've got all these economic development projects coming into town, but yet the permit process hasn't started yet. So we're trying to see if we can bring in this fiscal year some of those permits. And that's a big gap right now in this building permit fees.
Yeah.
So fortunately, with this major expansion I have going on with Amazon, they came in with like 290,000, which brought us up a little bit. But I've got things like a Mexican restaurant coming in. I've got a hotel breaking ground. We have O'Reilly's Auto Parts coming in. All these are permit fees that aren't fully in yet at this point in time. So we don't know at this point. That's the answer.
Yeah. Okay, now, by the way, I missed that announcement. What's the major expansion of Amazon?
There was a $13 million expansion that we worked on with Amazon in the internal portion of their building. So there was a redesign that we worked with them on, and it generated about $290,000 in permit fees. So they are the
Okay.
largest taxpayer
Yes.
in the town right now, and the largest employer.
That's good news. I missed that announcement. I'm sorry. I try to read the paper, but
Yep.
sometimes the phone rings. So, or people stop by.
Mike,
It's nice to know. It's nice to know that our revenues are good. Although, of course, we are limited by the amount of money that the public has approved for us to spend in a given year.
Right.
So that's our limit. No matter how much money we take in,
Right.
whether we are on a surplus or not, it's based on the ceiling of those
Yes.
approved expenses.
Exactly. Now, two other things on the revenue side. June is always a big month on town clerk fees, so we were waiting to see what the big month would be. And June is always the month that we get the year allotment on the municipal grant and aid, which is $1,860,000. So we're waiting for that money to come in also.
Well, we're waiting for the American Rescue Plan money, which is $1.1 million something, right?
Right. So that
Which is unbudgeted, right?
It's on budget,
Right.
right? So, and just let me explain that for a second. The first, this is their word, federal government, tranche. The first tranche is coming in on or about May 30th. And the second tranche is 365 days later.
Right. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess when we talked about in the past, I thought that sounded like they'd be much closer together.
No.
A year apart.
No, it's a year apart.
Yeah.
So think about municipal grant and aid, always comes in June.
Yeah.
This will come in
May.
hopefully
May.
May 30th,
Yeah.
May 30th, first week of
Right.
June, first week of June.
Anything else on revenue, Michael?
No, sir.
Special funds?
Did you make a note on special funds of the equipment that was purchased through MRSA?
The type of equipment?
The equipment that we got the waivers on in this fiscal year.
You mean the 356, Mike? Is that what you're talking about?
If that's all of it, then yes.
That's the year-to-date expense.
Right.
Yeah, that's the cost of the 2 trucks.
Cost of the 2 trucks, okay.
Good?
Nice trucks. Thank you. That's all.
Big trucks.
Nothing on special Board of Ed? Which gave us a lot of information to digest.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So one question that perhaps Ed or Mike might know better than and the rest of us is, what exactly does a strong surplus position mean? Because they have already an end fund balance carryover of $473,000, plus another $200,000 for capital improvement. So if they have an additional surplus this year, do we have any idea,
So-
bigger than a breadbasket type number?
I don't think we know yet what it would be used for, but what we, and I've said this many times here before in past years, that we've worked out where they can take the surplus and it will be put aside for future capital expenditures that may be in their 5-year plan, let's say, okay? And then they can pick and choose what would come out of a subsequent year budget through the utilization of that particular surplus that year. I used the Common Core example years ago, when there was $355,000 and they upgraded technology, so. And by the way, I don't know if I said this, I know I did, so I did say it before, but after we did that with the Board of Ed years ago, there was a state statute that memorialized that 1% of their budget was mandated to be given back to any Board of Ed in the state to utilize for future capital expenditures. So to answer your question, Nancy, we don't know the exact items. I think it would have to come out of whatever their projected capital expenditures are in subsequent years that they build into their budget. So whatever their capital expenditures are, that's what the surplus would be designed to be used for.
Right, no, I guess what I was asking was, do we have an idea what the number of their surplus? Because Mike asked what the town side
Yeah.
surplus would be.
I'm sorry.
But the very first sentence here is the overall, the operating budget for 2021 remains in a strong surplus position. So I'm just trying to quantify what that actually means, because then that surplus, on top of their $673,000 that they already have in their special funds, represents what the Board of Ed has at their discretion to be used in addition to the $1 million that we're giving them as part of the proposed budget. So I just wondered if.
Yeah, no, that's not a
I'm not
generally
sure.
accepted accounting term, so I don't know.
Okay.
Nancy, I'm not sure if I'm reading this report right, but when you look at one of these reports, it says the year-to-date expense was 43.2 million. Then it says the full year was 57.3. It's this one, by the way. You probably can't see that from here, but it's this
So,
one.
little tiny
And
one.
then it's showing 2.6 million.
Yeah, exactly. These look like ants, all right?
They should carry the columns to the next page.
It's the 2-page report.
Yep,
Yeah, they should.
So if you look at the top, it says year-to-date expense, then it shows the full year, which I presume is a projection. Then it gives your budget available, and if you carry that down to the second page, it's a strong surplus position.
Anything else on Board of Ed?
Two questions here. The first is the calculation of their reserves for medical and dental plans here. They threw out a lot of numbers at us, and what I think our understanding was, Tim, was that we were told to, in reserves to budget, is it 3 months? Was it 3 months?
That'd be my real recollection. And I did look at this, Mike. I can't say I really dug in deep to the details, but I certainly thought to myself, well, this is a more intricate calculation of reserves than I understood them to be.
Well, 3 months is 25% of the year. And so that the 25% of claims, I thought that was more or less inclusive, though, of what was to be expected from the IBNR, the incurred but not reported. So I thought it was all sort of like baked in to that whole idea of 3 months, as opposed to maybe 2 months plus the IBNR. So when we're getting this advice from our agents, that was my belief and understanding.
I have to admit, when I looked at this, Mike, and I saw, well, 15% of projected claims, and then I see the IBNR, which is incurred but not yet reported, right? I wasn't clear what the difference between projected claims and the IBNR was, because to me, that's IBNR and projected is the same thing, that's right?
No.
It's obviously different, because I got it in 2 different rows here, but.
So the IBNR are claims that have come in by, let's say, the end of the year, by June
but they just haven't hit through till July. I mean, people went to the doctors, but the claims aren't gonna get processed till the next month. So they're incurred, but.
Yeah, I understand,
Like
right.
accounts payable.
But they're also budgeting a number for projected claims. So these are claims which.
That's going future, yeah.
Well, so's IBNR.
No, that's,
Tim, you are correct that
IBNR is basically if the plan
Right.
ends today,
Right.
right? So if we don't have, if we're not self-insured anymore, then we have to cover claims which haven't come in. So people have had a
right.
medical situation, right? But
Right.
the claim comes in after the time. That's what an IBNR is to my simple mind, right?
Yes.
Isn't that the same as a projected claim? I mean, why would you be reserving for a projected claim? It's the same thing, I think.
I don't know, that's what I was looking at myself, like projected, that means it's gonna be a future claim,
right.
not necessarily something that's happened, so, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, you wouldn't know what an IBNR is if someone, maybe I'm wrong, maybe they do know. But I would have thought, what are you saying,
You're
Rich?
talking about these two? This and this?
Yes, yeah.
Is it as simple as the top is strictly, it says medical RX and vision claims. Is it two separate types of claims that they're trying to identify?
That's the claims, and they're using the claim figure to come up with the
Yeah, where it
reserves
says
here.
projected claims, is one of them has vision and prescription on it, is the other one as well? I mean, we could ask them for more detail, or a better understanding of what they're giving us. They give the same thing on the town side, don't they?
Well, they gave us 3 targets here. They got
Yeah.
to choose a target.
Yeah, just take the
Well,
highest one.
Well, it's a low end and a high end.
I mean, here's how I see it. We're gonna be meeting with Patrick and Howard soon, but when I saw that, my interpretation was the IBNR is one number, and they're also factoring in projected surgeries or projections that haven't occurred yet.
Right.
Because when I looked at that, I said that probably what's happening here, like we're doing on the town side, there's a pent-up demand coming out of a pandemic for doctor's appointments, surgeries, or whatever. And that's how I drew the distinction between IBNR and what they did in terms of projecting in the future. I looked at it as two different items, as a speculation on what pent-up demand would be coming out of a pandemic.
The other thing could be too, that the reserves are simple. I mean, we budget for claims based on, where they guide us, right? But that doesn't mean they're gonna land there.
That's
So the reserves themselves could be simply a situation where we have to have a certain level of reserves because we may have, more claims than we're projected for a particular reason, right? I mean, even though we have loss stops on them, you could still have, higher claims individually that in the aggregate add to more than what we. So that's probably the reserve, and then the IBNR is the future claims that haven't been reported yet.
Yeah.
That could be.
But we'll get clarification. We're gonna be meeting with them, so.
Yeah.
Anything else, Mike?
Well, it's obviously, we can see here and from their other report that they have accumulated some balances here, which is good. I hope, hopefully on the town side, I know we've got other reserves that they don't have in just the general, in just the fund balance and other things. But they have a total of what they're saying here in their accounting of $850,000 in reserves. Now that's pretty good considering that we never asked them to budget for that before. We just told them what their claims are and they budgeted for their anticipated claims. So they've said that they're going to use certain funds. Sometimes it's part of their surpluses of the prior year or years, and sometimes it's the ESSER funds. Sometimes they mention the rescue funds, and they've said that this is a possible use of those funds. So my general question is, when they get all this money in, and they've got the ESSER money now, does this board want to have a report, and is there any accountability to us for their use of that money?
Which money?
All the money. We're talking
Gotta
now,
be
I
more
think,
specific.
we're talking over $3 million of money.
Are we off the reserve now? Because you lost me, I apologize.
No, yeah, we are off the reserve, because the reserve was just a possible use of their money, but now, of course, we can see that they're already building reserves quite well.
That's not the way I read this, Mike, but you may be right. They don't say where this 850 comes from. He doesn't say it here. It's just a number. They start off in a deficit position for the year, I believe it.
Yeah,
I don't have the cap, I usually have it, but it's in there. So I thought that this was money he took from maybe the surplus that we just talked about with Nancy a minute ago, I'm not sure.
And they also haven't received the ESSER 2 funds yet. They received ESSER 1, but not ESSER 2, according
Okay.
to
So-
and
this
there are
price
funds,
report.
there are funds that their accountability from the Board of Ed is to the entity that supplied the funds, be it federal government, state governments, outside of the budget. But anything inside, yeah, we can oversee that. But if it's funds that are coming, they have their own little,
I know that the Board of Ed has a finance board amongst themselves.
yes.
Yes, we know that.
It's it continues to bother me, as it did in the April meeting and the May meeting, March meeting, that with all this money coming in, this $3-4 million, that it has absolutely zero impact on their budget, on the budget that we do approve. And that's, to me, in theory, a problem. But I just didn't know if this board wanted it to request any sort of reporting
That's-
from them on how they spend that money.
We can request it, that's fine. I have no problem with that at all.
Not that we have any power to do anything about it.
No, but we can correct.
all we can do is
could
correct.
request it so that we can be informed as to what they're doing.
They're gonna be responsible to the federal government, just like Ed and I will be to manage this, and we have to be responsible to the federal government. There'll be audits, there's gonna be spreadsheets that need to be reported, so where this money's going.
You know, Mike, at breakfast this morning, my wife sat across from me, she's a teacher in New Haven, and she got a survey from the city. And the survey was, okay, we're getting all this money from the CARES Act, or American Rescue Plan in, where do you want to spend it? But they were specific, she was reading me off, they said you can only spend it on, and she listed off, whatever, 7, 8 different items, you know, where they could spend the money. I mean, this is a topic we talked about before, that you have to spend on certain things. It's not that we can still ask where to spend it, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all gonna be, it's all public record, they're gonna have,
So I mean, if
so,
that's what you're asking, I'd support that. If you want to find out what they spend the money on, then we'll just ask them to tell us.
but we're in no position to debate it, because they are responsible, like we are, to the federal government.
Right. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think,
it's
I think
information
Mike was just
purposes.
making the point about accountability,
Yeah.
that's all. And I think that's perfectly reasonable. And they dance around it a little bit in the narrative here by saying, the ESSER 1 and CRF grants totaling $550,000 were to reimburse the district for funds spent on items related to the COVID pandemic. So that kind of points to it, but I think it would be helpful to really get some sort of a breakdown of money,
Yeah.
source, and how it was used.
I think we can ask for that. Now, keep this in mind, Mike. Yesterday, we were with Governor Lamont, myself, and about 15 of my colleagues. The state is responsible to the federal government for reporting what they're doing with their money also. So even the state has to report to the federal government. So
Sure.
this is a very big issue in terms of guidance and reporting. That's why I took such a demonstrative stance about the fact we couldn't use it to reduce a mill rate, because I know what's going on here. So we are gonna be under the gun, not only us, but every other city in town, in terms of where this money's going. And they're gonna really look towards the auditing what we're doing.
Right, now, but part of their guidelines have changed, have evolved to not be quite as strict as we had originally believed regarding the town use of funds.
Actually, the guidance, the foundation of the guidance that I talked about originally is still there, but there's other things like tourism, mental health, premium pay for frontline workers. So there's some expanded guidance that we gotta be very careful with, Ed and I. So,
Mike, could I just ask, is there
Yes.
any more details that you can share with us about the county money?
we don't know what it's gonna be. There is an aggregate amount. They're redoing the per capita analysis. And what we're told is that the county money guidance will be similar, very similar to the guidance that we're just talking about
Okay.
with the initial tranche, to use their word.
Okay,
So in other words, there won't be a separate guidance on the county money.
okay.
So,
So it would be exactly the same. Got it.
so let me give you an example of something, okay? Premium pay for frontline workers. Summer camp subsidization may be part of the guidance. So Ed and I are in a situation now where we're being asked by some parents regarding having our staff administer EpiPens for various allergies or afflictions, diabetes as an example. So our staff's not equipped to do that. So I'm working with the 3rd Congressional District Office to determine if premium pay for frontline workers, if we can use some of that stimulus money to hire nurses at all the schools for the summer camp to administer vaccines, or if there's allergies or whatever there may be, that might be an example of premium pay for frontline workers to help for medical assistance at the summer camps. But I don't know if that's gonna fly yet. We gotta ask that.
Yeah, well, it seemed that, you know, if those funds, I'm off the Board of Ed now, I'm now on the town side of federal funds here. If the money that comes to us somehow can be used or applied to any one item that's already within our budget that qualifies, that seems to be an item that's going to have an indirect effect on taxes overall, because whatever money doesn't go there, the public has to make up for whatever remaining expenses exist. And so, whether they be from COVID or whatever the program permits spending on. So I believe I just read recently that the prior restriction of it not having an effect on the tax rate has been relinquished or removed.
Mike, you talking about this year or next year?
I'm talking about each year.
Well, there won't be any tax, there's no change in the tax rate this year, that's over, right?
Right.
So I haven't heard that, but what we talked about yesterday, and this is everybody, all those cities and towns, you can't just say, I'm gonna take this money, we're gonna reduce the mill rate by X. That is not gonna be accepted.
Yeah.
So, but if there's,
And yet, if you use it for something that's already in the budget that somehow qualifies, it does have that effect.
well, the money comes in, you use it for that, and it may be more of an indirect, but it's not a direct application to putting together a budget. We're getting X amount of dollars, and that represents 1/3 of a mill, so I'm gonna present 1/3 of a mill tax decrease. You can't do that. That's why I was trying to say this at all these meetings.
Yeah, I know.
Right, but how is that any different from, we have 1/3 of a mil increase,
But I'm-
and we fold in the money, and now we're at 0?
But I'm not the person to debate that with, because this is federal government's guidelines, okay?
But how is it any different?
I don't know, but that's the way it is.
That's the
So-
government.
And that-
Isn't it reducing the mill rate, whether you go from 0.3 increase down to 0, or from 0 down to 0.3
Well, it's just like what Mike got
decrease?
through saying. Mike got through saying you put the money towards capital. It's going to affect the bottom line.
Yes, I completely agree with you, Jim.
Really, it's not, because the caveats they've given you is to make up, and the direction the town would probably use it is to make up for revenue that was expected, be it building permits, what have you, that we did not get because of COVID. So through no fault of the town, these projects were stopped because of COVID, and this is the way Uncle Sam is making the town whole again.
Yeah, so,
So that's kind of it.
Which again affects the tax rate. Because if that money wasn't there, the taxes would be higher.
not
But
necessarily.
I guess I would put it this way, Mike, I mean, working with this year is probably easier than the future, right? I mean, so we know we're getting some money in this year, and we can apply it to lost revenues, some other items, maybe the cleaning supplies, right? So I guess, to your point, and perhaps Nancy's, if we have money that we can apply for the excess cleaning, right, then we can use that. Now, we're probably over on our cleaning line, right? And maybe we can even use some of that money to cover the budget number. But we're over on all kinds of other lines elsewhere here, right? So, in the end, we are gonna apply it to things we can to. It may have an indirect benefit because,
Right. Well,
maybe we
what I
budget
was saying is
50,000.
if that money didn't come in, those expenses would be there anyway.
Well, okay,
Yeah,
so.
because COVID was here.
And
And
they're-
the two storms that we had materialized in North Haven, yes.
Yeah.
So, look,
All right.
I
I
understand.
thought I heard that the language on this had loosened up, and they actually, that they eliminated that statement, or that guideline.
Well, if that happened, as of yesterday, none of us knew it, and if it happened yesterday and we didn't know it, but we've already put this budget together under the guidance
Yeah,
we've been
okay,
given.
no, I know,
Right.
I know.
Yeah,
It's okay.
I think what Mike is referring to, Mike, is a report from CCM in which, back on, I think it was May 11th, CCM made the statement, "The rule prohibiting the use of funds to offset a reduction in taxes is only applicable for states, not municipalities." So that, to me, is pretty clear. And again, this is CCM's interpretation,
Right.
so it's one
Well,
source.
yeah, I was part of that, so I know exactly what you're saying, but it doesn't mean that you can make a statement, we're getting $1 million, we're gonna reduce the mill rate. What it means is that you have the latitude of applying the money to certain expenditures that may have already been in the budget, or overages that would have caused a over on the line item, you can apply it to that. In the end, it may help to smooth out the mill rate, so it's more of an indirect thing, I agree with you.
That's kind of what I was trying to
Right.
say.
Yeah.
I didn't say it
Right,
right,
but it's not a direct statement, you can't just reduce the mill rate with these monies. You have the latitude to apply it to line items that, let's say we were gonna hire a paramedic, which we did, to do homebound vaccinations, okay? So this money could be used for that. Now, we didn't know we were gonna get the money when we did that, because I identified a disenfranchised segment of our community that had no ability to go out and get a vaccine. So we sent paramedics into people's homes, elderly people, disabled people. We put that expense in there. Now, this money, with the guidance that says it can be used for COVID-related medical expenses, that may offset that expense. So there is some latitude in there to take this money and apply it to existing line items or line item overages.
But ultimately, it's recorded as just a single source of revenue, excuse me, on page 7 of the budget, like any other
Yeah.
source of revenue.
And then what we have to do is we have to take that revenue and we have to send to the federal government. I think they're gonna be looking for every 60 days or 90 days. We have to supply them where that money's being applied to. What expenditures? We have to supply that to the federal government.
It's a great, it's got restrictions and we're supposed to adhere to it.
Right.
We're off track for a second. Anything else? There was nothing else on Board of Ed? I make a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Have a second?
The reports?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Tax collector suspense list. Is Stacy with us?
I'm here.
Would you like to bring us through your suspense list?
Sure. For 2021 census, the payments for their 540 account. The total amount of 224,891.66. And the list that's presented, if anyone has any questions, I'll answer them specifically, but the basic reasons here are bankruptcy, death, out of business, moved, they've been uncollected for an excessive amount of time. One was in foreclosure litigation, a few others were became town property, and so on and so forth.
Hey Stacy, it's Tim, I see Home Federal Realty on here once or twice for some decent sized numbers on 57 Dodge Avenue, for instance, for 21 and change. You know anything about that? Yeah. 57 Dodge.
Okay.
What page number?
Page,
Sorry, page 5.
They're also on page 3.
Yeah, I thought I saw them elsewhere too. Maybe my phone.
Sorry, I think we did a connection, page 3 then?
3 and 5. Where was it on 3, Mike?
Pages 3 and 5.
Yeah, second from the bottom on 3. On page 5, it's sort of about 2/3 of the way down. I guess it's about 40,000 total there.
Oh, 67 Dodge, that is a, very old personal property bill that hasn't been collected. But don't forget,
Any other questions for Stacy?
We need to bless this? We need to vote this?
Everybody's good?
We need to approve? We need to
Yes,
vote?
yeah, I make a motion to approve the suspense list as presented by the tax collector. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you, have a good night.
Thanks, Stacy.
Next item on our agenda, appointment of auditor. I'll make a motion, and I'll do a little quick discussion. A motion to appoint PKF O'Connor Davis as the fiscal year 2021 town auditor. Do I have a second? Then we'll do discussion.
I'll second it.
Discussion to follow. I mean, in reality, this is their last year. We brought them on in 2018. This is the last year of their service contract, which means it's not the last year of their service contract?
One more year.
One more year?
This is year 4 out of 5.
I thought this was 5. Okay.
No.
We have one more year with a service contract. Any other discussion with that? After their contract is up, we will go out to bid again, as we do.
Yep.
And you and I put these together last time. I know we went for 5. I thought that we were in the 5th year. I stand corrected. Any other discussion? I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And last item on our agenda is setting the mill rate. The budget did pass by 78%. It was a small sample size, but it was statistically accurate. So I make a motion to set the town's mill rate at 30.71 mils in accordance with the referendum. I don't even know if we need a motion for this.
Yeah.
All right, can I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And being the last part of business, I make a motion to adjourn.
I do want to comment that everyone did work hard on this current budget, and despite the reservations that myself and others might have had, no tax increase is, it's good planning for the people of our town.
And I'll have to support this. You do, and the people of Sutton.
Congratulations to those who made this possible.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.